This is episode number 13 of Dev Branch Blocks to Gutenberg or not to Gutenberg. Brought to you by ServerPress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at ServerPress. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Zangit. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Yeah, and hi, I'm Say Reed at Say Reed Media. Make WordPress, teach WordPress, preach WordPress, at all the things. Wait, that was backwards, but anyway.
And hey, I'm Jason Cosper.
Yo, hey, what's up?
Go to subscribe to us as a podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, where you can listen to this show and the other shows that we do on the
Wow, we're on all the things.
We're on all the things. We're on all the things.
Hey guys.
Just like Say.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Hey guys.
I got it. I caught it.
Hey guys.
So we're talking about
Don't forget to
Gutenberg
smash
today.
that like button. I'm just going to get it out of the way right now. I know you're supposed to say it at the end, but you know, I'm a rebel.
She broke. She smashed the like button and then she broke.
Let's wait until
Did I
we're
break?
about.
What happened to Jason?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there he is.
Oh no. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Oh, he's freezing. He's back.
I don't know what's going on.
Am I here or am I not here?
Stacey's
Yeah,
video's
Jason-
broken on my side.
Jason's apparently on DSL today.
But am I here? I'm here.
Yes, you're here.
I'm
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
we're
Oh,
all here.
goodness
This is the
gracious.
perfect lead-in as
All
we like.
Except for
is
Say.
Jason-
So you guys can see Say? I can't see Say.
Yes, we can see Say just fine. And I think you and Say are competing for bandwidth here.
We're in an
It'll just
alternate
be
universe.
me. It'll be me and Cosper talking amongst ourselves today.
I can see Say now.
Yeah.
I can see Say now. We're good.
All
All right, we're talking about
Oh.
Gutenberg today. We're talking about Gutenberg for a number of reasons. We're kind of in this weird spot. Yeah, I think we're in this weird spot right now where we're really hoping that Gutenberg has all the features that we need in order to just build a website using it without a bunch of extra crap. But then we're kind of finding that, at least me, I'm finding that it's just not there yet.
There is no
there's just-
there. I want to go to there.
Yeah, I want to go to there.
I want to go to there where the land is full site editing, and that's a reality. When Jason brought this up, because Jason's been trying to redesign one of his sites, right? One of your personal sites. And as one does when one is a WordPress hobbyist and WordPress
Enthusiast.
yeah. One makes things with WordPress, and he's been discussing, for lack of a better word, with us his trials and tribulations as he has been putting this together. And it's been kind of funny. One, because it's funny to have someone like live text you their problems while they're building the site. Now where's the header? Where's the
of a sudden, Jason became an old man. Now, where's the header?
Where's the footer? That's what he sounds like when he does it. And Steve's muted our chat, so he doesn't even come in and talk to us anymore because it's like 100 messages of Jason.
You guys are definitely on Do Not Disturb.
But
Wow.
that is the thing, right? So I've also been playing around with it. But I'm in this really difficult spot with a couple clients where I'm building them a new site, and I want to build them a site that's going to last them for a couple of years, right? So it's kind of like the last year before a model of a car like totally changes, but you really need a new car right now, and you're like, shoot, do I wait? What do I do? Because I can't just tell these people to wait for their new site until Gutenberg and full site editing happens, but I also don't want to ignore that eventuality happening, and I want to be able to prepare the site to go into the future with it. So it's this dilemma.
Are you worried if you build in a different site editor that will be obsolete one day?
I mean, it will definitely be obsolete one day. It'll last the lifetime of these sites, 2 to 5 years, whatever it is. But like, I it's more about, outdated practices versus the shiny new thing, and giving someone that's like so fresh and so clean versus a lot of page builders. I use Divi, not ashamed of it at all. And a lot of it gets bulky. There's a lot of stuff you have to do that would be easier and cleaner to do just in straight WordPress, where you're just building a basic theme and whatnot. But we're not there yet, as Jason has been demonstrating to us with his text.
And not only are we not there yet, the damn thing crashes all the time. I don't know what it is. I know I've complained about this in the past, where I had some website that had like 900 plugins installed, and I'm trying to drag one block onto the screen, and then the thing just breaks. I'm now using like the most brand spanking new installation of WordPress with no posts, nothing, no extra cruft, none of that stuff. And I'm still running into issues where I'll go and drag a block out there, and then the thing just breaks.
And you're not,
okay.
Are you using the full site editor in beta, or you're not, right? You're not using that.
I've tried with both. So I've tried it with the full site editor, and I've tried it where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to build all my own templates, do all my own stuff, and I'll just drag one block over. And it just, I've never seen JavaScript break as much as it breaks.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I have. Browsers.
I knew something like that was coming just from the look on Steve's face. I knew that it was going to be something like that. The new one now is have you tried this in incognito mode? That's the new. Have you turned it off and on again?
I can't tell you how many times I say that on a daily basis now to my clients. Open an incognito window.
Right? Wait, the porn mode? You want me to go into that? Why should I go into that?
No, that's not catching your history.
I'm actually wondering if you have any browser extensions on that may be conflicting with JavaScript in the new WordPress.
Now it's browser extensions that we have.
That's why you open an incognito window.
Look, I'm in IT. I have a Windows computer in my garage, and that has nothing on it, and I just logged into that and used it just to give it a shot. It still breaks. I'll move
there's
a
your
block
problem.
over.
You're using Windows.
No, I want to make sure that, like, what the heck is?
I love it.
What is it that's breaking this? So it breaks quite a bit, and also just I don't know. I've been finding weird things, like using columns, for instance. I'll have a column, and I'll try to drag a block into the column, and it won't work. I have to like click on the plus sign and then put it in there. Like there's just funky little things like that just.
So I don't want to turn this into a debugging show, but are you talking about just content editing or more template editing? Is that how are you using? Okay, so that's where it's crashing.
All the content editing works perfect.
Yeah,
it's great.
And so the content editor in Gutenberg is now gone through several revs, right? So it's pretty strong, but I still consider any of the
finally size columns, which is like the most basic thing I've ever thought. Like, just come on.
I still consider any of the site building stuff in beta. We're in transition, right? Even the stuff that was released in 5.8, right? I don't typically upgrade to a .0 release anyway for this reason, right? It is still in transition.
So what are you doing? What are you, Steve? What are you doing with Gutenberg? Yeah, what are you doing with Gutenberg that makes your life so good? Because I don't get it.
We're only using Gutenberg for content editing, right? And so even when WordPress comes out,
page editing. What does that mean? Content editing to you? Let's get a little more.
Posts and pages.
And pages, but your pages have templates from your themes. Then
that's correct.
Everything within the loop.
So exactly. So even when full site editing comes out in WordPress, that probably doesn't apply to us because we're creating our own themes, right? So we don't use. I mean, we have some clients that use page builders, but for most of our clients, we're building and controlling the theme file. So we don't run into these issues that you're describing.
I really miss that. I miss how much control you have.
That's why we do it. I mean, we do it because we don't want any jank at the top level.
Yeah, but your clients can pay for you to custom code things, and my clients basically pay for an out-of-the-box solution that,
And I think that's why
you can run with, and that's really the difference. I need better.
So I think that's why you're in Divi land for a while. I mean, I don't
want to necessarily be there. When we started this show, and you can go back, it's on the YouTubes. I literally hand coded everything, even my plugins, before the plugin revolution happened. But like,
Say had a beard. She's writing in Perl.
I feel that I am like betraying that part, and I felt like that for a long time with Divi, but there just hasn't been the ability for content editing for the clients any other way. And so now it's like, it really is this transition time where I'm like, oh great, I can get back to basics in WordPress without all this stuff on top of it, but I'm just waiting. And so I feel like I'm stuck in this waiting period, and I've been stuck in this waiting period for a long time. And, you know, Divi continues to add stuff and everyone's getting better, but I feel like the universes are splitting in terms of page builders going in a different direction. And, you know, with all the acquisitions that like WP Engine is making for Genesis and stuff like we've talked about, I mean, that's an old one, but it feels to me like at some point there will be a split, and it won't just be one WordPress to rule them all. This is just a feeling, you know, but I kind of want my eggs in the WordPress basket and my clients in that basket because of all of the ecosystem around it. Like, I don't want to fork them off to Classic Press. I don't want to do it because it doesn't feel like the best choice for them. And I don't want to condemn them to a future of, you know, being locked into Divi forever either. So I feel conflicted. They don't care. I'm not like, well, there's this thing coming where you'll be able, like, this doesn't matter to them. So it's all in my head. But it's
so
still
to go back to what Say was saying about she's building sites for clients, and, you know, in the next 6 months, you know, whenever we're going to have WordPress 5.9, hopefully full site editing will be baked enough to actually, you know, build sites off of, hopefully. But I think right now we're in a place where we're dealing with something that's kind of referred to, or is referred to as the OSborne effect. This comes from OSborne Computers, where basically Say is interested. She's leaning forward and chewing on a pen.
I want to know. I'm like, tell me more.
Okay, so the OSborne effect, OSborne Computers, which I'm sure almost nobody listening to this podcast has ever heard of, but OSborne Computers,
or on the podcast,
sure, announced a new version, like a prototype, like, oh, we're coming out with this model in a few months, and the sales of their existing computer that they were still selling for those months dropped off a cliff because nobody wanted to buy the old thing. Right. So they're like, you know what? I mean, how many people upgrade to a new iPhone or a new Pixel when they know that a new one's coming? Not a lot of people do. So when people are like, okay, well, full site editing is coming, like, do they really want to be the last people who get a theme built the old way? Probably not. Right.
So you're either a last holdout or you're a first adopter in this weird stage. Steve has stuff to say, and he's like bursting.
No, I'm listening. I mean, everything Casper said is correct. And again, I go back to the fact that we're in a transition. But as I say we're in a transition, it feels like we're always in a transition.
It really does. Tired.
Something is always coming.
Waiting for 5.0.
I think you have to kind of build for what you have now, right? Not worrying about what's in the future.
Sure.
There's a song about that, living for today, or
here's the thing to think about. And I ask all my clients this: when a client asks me for a page builder, or wants full site control, or wants to control the design, things like that, the question I ask them is, how often are you going to be doing that? And I think you have to ask yourself that question as well. Like, once you make the site, how often are you changing that template, right? Do you need new pages on a daily or weekly basis? Or are you really writing content on a daily basis or weekly basis, right? 9 times out of 10, most of my clients are not changing the site. Like, once we put the site together and we have the templates, that's good enough for 5 years. And when they need new page templates, we just add those new page templates because it's not that often. So I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. And I think, a lot of people are getting hung up on these this full site editing or site builder or this transition when really you're not actually going to be using it all that much?
Well, my clients do, and especially I'm building for one client right now who makes new pages like fairly frequently, and they are pages. They should be pages. Okay. They're not making pages that should be posts. Sorry about my dog that's freaking out in here. But so they do have that, and making them just templates, like they do have a need for some use, and
they're probably making landing pages. You're talking about landing pages.
Well, yeah, they are basically landing pages. Like they're creating that. So, they could do something like that in HubSpot, which, they're also using, but then it's all about, right, exactly. It's just integration, all of the
Say all the bad words on the show, geez.
I'm sorry, this is censored.
Have you ever tried to work in the HubSpot page editing template, the template editor?
In fact, for this client, we had the debate of HubSpot CMS or WordPress.
Oh, I had a recent debate like that.
Yeah.
And oh God, it's bad.
I was like, well, the real problem is, and this is a tangent, but all of HubSpot's informational stuff, it's all just sales pitches with people saying, I'm a marketer and I can do this. I was like, yeah, but what if you're actually trying to do something? Could you tell me about that, HubSpot? And they're like, no. And you don't need a developer to do anything. I'm like, okay. That's their whole marketing campaign. But
it says HubSpot voice.
Yeah, that's my HubSpot voice, as opposed to my Jason voice. The point is that when you are making content, I have actually been having them make posts and use posts and pages to use Gutenberg for that and basic blocks. So I'm actually using currently on a theme I didn't build, half Gutenberg, half not Gutenberg. And then the site that I'm building them is half Gutenberg and half not Gutenberg. So for example, all posts and content like that will be living forever, hopefully, is I am setting up to be built in Gutenberg. And then all of the content that's more landing pages, all of that stuff, which is like, it's static, but it's not necessarily content that's going to be needed forever, that is built in the page builder. And so it's still a transition, but it's like that way, you're not building posts in Divi. And then if you do want to switch someday, you've got all of these short codes everywhere. So this is the kind of the transitional state I'm in. The problem for the client is that if they have two different systems, and it doesn't matter to me because, I can switch between them, no problem, but it is more confusing for the client. And so they end up having me do the page layouts, which, isn't bad, but would be nice for them to do on their own. So, and
that really is kind of the issue that we're talking about here is it's not so much a technology issue as it is a change management issue or a training issue, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what we're talking about is small teams, but when you've got a corporate team of 100 people that are all using WordPress, right, and you make a change like adding in full site editing, let's say they're using Elementor and you're now switching over to full site editing. When that becomes a thing, you now have a training issue on your hands.
I mean, it's not just for 100 people corporations. I just did a training with a nonprofit client, training all of their new staff and their new batch of interns and whatever. And I'm having to retrain the same people on the new stuff as well as the new people on the stuff. And it is a training issue. It's like, how do you explain to people, this is going to change in a little bit. So hold on one second. And this isn't going to be the same like this forever. So don't get too used to it.
whether it's one site admin or 100, it's still a training issue, right? It just grows exponentially as you have more people working on the site. And that's really the issue here is for us, the four of us on the podcast, it doesn't matter all that much, right? We're just going to kind of roll with the punches and figure it out, right? And we're technically savvy, but I'd argue that most of the WordPress users aren't technically savvy, right?
If we're talking about actual users who are doing their own thing and managing their own sites, honestly, I feel like they're locked into themes and not even paying attention to stuff. So when Gutenberg starts to show up in their updates, I think it's just confusing. Also, WordPress cannot get over introducing you to the block editor every time you open a new page. Like, I got to turn that thing off. It's like, it's like, hi again. And you're like, hi, I've seen you already. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
But, I don't know.
I think
it's transition. It's really what it is, but it is an uncomfortable place to be in.
Yeah, I think another part that's a little frustrating is the tools and plugins I've been using in the past haven't gotten to that point yet either. So they haven't even recognized that blocks exist yet. As like, if you look in any of their release notes or any of that, they're like, yeah, we're not there yet. It's like,
I'm having the opposite problem where like they're introducing, Guten blocks and moving.
And you're still on Classic Editor.
Well, I'm not using Classic Editor anywhere, but it's just not integrating. For example, like the link I sent you all yesterday, there's still a bug where you can't put false for a meta box for a custom post type, well, actually custom taxonomy, and you can't get it to not show up in the document panel. Because Gutenberg does not recognize that command anymore. But if you switch to Classic Press, so I actually might have to install Classic Press and use it on a specific post type in order for that meta box not to show up in the wrong spot. Like, and when I was digging for the solution to this, I found a track ticket from 2018 that said that we're going to fix that real quick. They are not fixing that. And I don't know, I can't contribute. Like I don't even know what the freaking problem is. So I mean, like, wow. But like, it's
on the list.
Tiny little bug. It'll get done. But like, so I'm going to implement a fix. Then now I have to track that issue to see if that ever comes out so I can undo the fix. Right? Like, so now I've got another plugin and I'm installing Classic Press. What is happening? Like, it's so frustrating.
What you're describing though is sort of an age-old problem with third-party plugin developers, right? Some update their stuff fast, some don't update ever, right? And so that's going to be every time we go through a transition.
This is just custom post types. That's not third-party. That's not a third party.
I get it. I was commenting on your previous comment about third-party developers.
Yeah.
Right. The one plugin that we use pretty extensively is Advanced Custom Fields, right, or ACF, right? And I actually hate the way ACF appears in Gutenberg, right? It's all kind of shoved down at the bottom. It's fairly well hidden now compared to how it used to be in the Classic Editor. So I don't like that implementation, but it's something we just have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. To kind of get on a little side tangent. Now we mentioned the Classic Editor, etc. I'm actually helping out a friend of a friend doing some work for somebody. I do have a delay. Okay. Well, I'm not in sync, but I'll still keep talking. Anyway, so basically they have been running their site for 8 years and they've been using the Classic Editor this whole time. And now they've decided it is time for them to upgrade to Gutenberg. So I have gone ahead and started working with them on getting things converted over to Gutenberg. TinUp has released a really great plugin that I think that we should shout out and mention. That it's the Convert to Blocks plugin. Mm-hmm. It takes your old Classic Editor stuff and moves it over to blocks, and it works pretty well. I mean, they're using this on enterprise level sites. So if you're getting to the point where you're trying to help somebody like move over from, or you're trying to do it for your own site, I suggest giving it a look.
As opposed to all just throwing it into the classic block.
Well, and I'm curious. I mean, and I'm curious, and I'm really asking this question for the edification of our audience. Is there is already a built-in way if you've got some Classic Editor posts and you switch over to Gutenberg, it'll just say convert to blocks inside of WordPress. How's this plugin different?
As far as that goes, I actually haven't used the built-in. I've just been using the plugin basically because I was like, oh, it's available, and I've seen problems like converting.
Yeah, and I'm curious about it because the built-in system is hit or miss, right?
Generally it just turns everything into one big classic paragraph.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on what was like buried in your Classic Editor content before,
or how old it was.
It is hit or miss. It does its best, but it once it's converted, you can expect to have to go in and format some things.
Right.
What was the use case which they made it for? Because if that's something, did they make that plugin before it was the convert to block was baked into core, or was that a solution for the hit or miss? Do you know?
It's been out for a while. So I'm actually taking a look at it. All I know is they wanted a way to do it to convert for it's 10up. They have ginormous clients that they need to make sure that if they're converting stuff over from the classic editor, that it works.
Right.
So that's the reason I have been using it, is because I'm like, listen, if this tool is being used on huge sites, like I know it's going to work, as opposed to, okay, somebody put it in core. It's been tested, but how much has it been tested? And on what sort of sites has it been tested? So it's one of those things where I was like, you know what? I'll just trust this.
I don't know. If I had to guess, I would...
Go ahead. I was going to mention one more thing. So I will tell you what's weird to me is WooCommerce is not Gutenberg compatible yet.
Right.
So when you are editing products and orders, it still looks like classic editor. So
weird.
When you're using WooCommerce with a new version of WordPress without classic editor installed, just the editing of switching over from posts to products is a very jarring transition. And my clients mentioned that. So again, if you're teaching Gutenberg and you're using WooCommerce, it is a different interface.
It's another hybrid. And I think that's because they've been having a lot of trouble converting WooCommerce over. It's not like for lack of trouble. I had a conversation about it, or we talked about it, or somewhere.
There's been sprinkles of Gutenberg in there, but
I know.
Again,
and there was a huge bug, and then they had to back it out. I remember that because I was like, why aren't there blocks in WooCommerce, and went diving into the back somewhere.
I'm assuming because there's so much extra metadata that you deal with on a product, right? It falls into the same category as I just explained with ACF. So once you add Gutenberg, now your product data is going to be kind of like hidden in a little accordion at the bottom of the page. You can't have that. It really is kind of half and half. So they sort of need, I would think ultimately they need a tabbed interface, one for editing the content of your product and one for editing all your product metadata like pricing and stock and variations and things like that. In my mind, that's the problem with WooCommerce.
I think the problem with the overall, that integration, both ACF, WooCommerce, like merging these two things. And for example, even the events calendar, which is switching over to blocks from, being, here's your editor, your event, you're editing it in the classic editor. I think it's making the transition harder because Gutenberg seems really just focused on the blocks and on that part of literally of the screen. And it is very focused on that screen. I feel that the document panel is very shoved together. Everything that shows up at the bottom is very shoved together. And it really feels like when you're adding on ACF, which is like this really integral part of many, many websites, it feels like you're using some like kind of cheap plugin because of the way that it integrates. Like its UI doesn't integrate like kind of seamlessly. It feels tacked on. And I think that contributes to even just my psychic frustration when I'm in there using it because of that mismatch. It just feels disconnected.
In my mind, they designed Gutenberg around post editing, right? Post content editing, because they fill the screen and it works when you're really just editing a basic post. But all the other stuff you do inside of WordPress that WordPress has become, like WooCommerce and events calendar and all these other things, all these other custom post types that you can put in there, they're not really compatible with that user interface. That in my mind is the issue. That's
really what makes, I think, it feel so awkward when you're using all these things on top of it. So I end up just taking out the editor completely from all of my custom post types just because it's extemporaneous now. I don't even need it, right? Because it's literally getting in the way of the data that needs to be put into those particular posts or whatever they are. So I think, when before all this started, when Gutenberg first came out, there was WordPress.com and WordPress.org had super different dashboards. Like the dashboard is still different, but it's super different post editors. And Gutenberg has swung all the way in the direction of WordPress.com's editor. And WordPress.com didn't have all of that stuff with it. So it wasn't even a consideration when designing for WordPress.com. And I think, you see the effects of having a lot of people who are on Automatic's team and are, kind of WordPress.com first focus in a way. And I think that's part of this problem, because WordPress.com users are different than WordPress.org and these larger, sites, because WordPress.com is very just content based. It is plugs, posts, and your cat blogs and things like that. It is about publishing. It's about publishing, but on all the other sites, it's about e-commerce, it's about data, it's about presenting things, it's about the business and the organizations. It's just a totally different focus. And I don't think that Gutenberg has taken that view. I think it's taken a myopic view that is drawing from WordPress.com and really kind of not looking at the entirety of the audience. And I think that is what is missing.
Darn, we have more things to explore at a later episode. Shucks.
Oh man, I just talked right over the time.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, hey, thanks for discussing this with us. I'm glad we're able to sit here and talk about this. If you have anything that you wanted to contribute to this, leave a comment down below. We'd really appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Smash that like button.
Go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's WPwatercooler.com/subscribe, where you can subscribe to this content and all the various places that you can find us. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Google, Apple, whoa. Discord, baby. Yeah. Discord, baby.